Welcome to another episode of Wesam's World. It's me, Wesam. Thank you for tuning in live on Adobe Radio every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I had a nice little itch. I don't know if that gets picked up by the mics. It does get picked up by the video. With me in the studio today, as always, wonderful producers Peyton Grufick and Alexander Gorski. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Today we have a very special guest. It's a little bit outside the realm of acting. However, it still deals with entertainment, and there is certain aspects with this video game world that we're going to hit with the acting world as well. I've known him since high school. He's a good friend. It's Kevin O'Brien. He's the senior QA manager at Supervive, a brand new MOBA BR meets hero shooter game that me and Peyton actually got to test out a few weeks ago, and we actually had an absolute blast playing it. We're going to get into all the details of it, some AI stuff, some SAG-AFTRA voiceover strike talk as well, the development of the game, how exciting and fun it was. And honestly, it made me feel like a good time, like I was like back in high school playing video games again in the best possible sense. Kevin, thanks for coming on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was fun last time, so I don't remember what we talked about last time, but I remember it was fun, so I was like, yeah. Well,
there you go.
Let's do it again.
First off, congratulations on Supervive. Dude, it's really, really fun.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I've been working on the game for almost 3 years now. Mm-hmm. When we last talked, I think I was still working at Riot Games. I worked on Valorant and League for people who are familiar with those games. And jumping over here was crazy because you're jumping over to you're a nobody the moment you switch over to one of these kind of indie projects. And the game, when it starts out, you're just a bunch of essentially like default little guys with like no art, and you're running around and you're shooting like essentially little like capsules at each other, and it's all just like nothing. And it's amazing to watch as this like unshaped ball of clay gets like crafted into a video game.
Absolutely. I want to get more into that in a second, but I just need to get out all the excitement first I have about the game, because I think that's needed before we continue. First and foremost, I loved how, in terms of pacing for the game, it starts off like, okay, we're in it, like the drop ship, we get dropped into the little circle zone. And by the way, for everybody watching, I'm not like an avid like super gamer here, so you're gonna hear things, some vocabulary, some vernacular that's maybe not as hip, not as cool, but it's the Wesam version of it, so it is cool. All right, anyway, so we drop in, right? Exciting, we're there, right? But then you got to level up, and then it ramps up, and ramps up, and it ramps up, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think that one of the goals too, you said something that made me smile right away. You said that playing the game, it made you feel like, oh man, I'm back in my high school playing games, just like hanging out. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what we want from the game, is we want it to be a really fun experience to play with your friends in particular, because I think there's like business reasons to want that, but there's really like gaming motivation reasons to want that, which is like, yeah, we want it to feel like an adventure, like you're dropping in and it's got that like exciting punch in the beginning when you kind of land in the dropship, and then growing throughout the game and getting stronger and running into different encounters and all that. I think having different ways to play the game, all of those things we think are really important, because a lot of games, there's just so many options out there, and a lot of them are really, really, really like sweaty, to use the gamer term. Like everyone's trying their hardest. It's really, really competitive, and the game is competitive, of course, but we wanted it to feel like a little less stressful every given moment.
Well, I think a little bit of stress
yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, and it is a good way, a little fire.
Yeah. It's still stressful. Don't get me wrong, but compared to the games I worked on, like Valorant and League, it's a little, yeah.
Okay, I gotta highlight some of like big kudos. I don't know who's responsible for these things. Maybe it's a big team effort, but big kudos for these specific people who made these aspects of the game. First of all, the canyons. Oh shit! I'm using the wrong word. The canyons. The
like
you glide over.
Like you have to glide over we call it the abyss.
The
so
abyss.
Like it kind of is a canyon actually. Okay. Yeah, if you imagine you're like high up in our head canon, we call it the abyss. But yeah, that part is fun. Yeah.
You know why I like it? Strategy. just went up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
Because for those of you listening, you glide over these canyons, which I think is a really cool aspect. And also, there's these circle things that gives you a little boost as well. However, if you get shot down over the abyss, boom, you're done.
Yeah, it's a one hit kill.
So if like you're on an island and another team is on an island, and the only way to get across is to glide over,
yeah, and it's really funny. The sort of story behind that mechanic almost, which is that we didn't have it until I think maybe like a year and a half ago or maybe a year ago. And we were looking for different ways. And we have this thing at the company we call Freaky Week when people can just do kind of whatever they want.
What is it called?
Freaky Week.
Freaky Week.
Yeah, they call it Freaky Week. And you can do whatever you want.
Wait, I wasn't invited?
Well, I mean, we could invite you to the next one maybe if you want to come in and just like, I don't know, pitch some ideas. I don't know what your game development chops are, but...
You said no rules.
Yeah, true. No, I mean... Yeah, we have people who are like not artists creating art, people who are not engineers trying to write code, stuff like that. And this came out of one of those.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean, I said next one.
Okay, I'm there.
I'll let you know. I'll be like, hey man, we're doing a Freaky Week.
You promised.
We'll have to do some kind of NDA situation, and I'll have to eat my words later. My boss can be like, why the fuck did you invite this guy to work on the game? And I'm like, look, dude, I said it. Okay, I said it on this podcast, and I gotta kind of honor my word. Just put you in a corner with your blocks, let you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Let me sit in on meetings.
Yeah.
Give me 1 minute. I have a PowerPoint I can bring in.
Oh, you want to be an idea guy? Yeah.
Kevin. No, dude, you know me. I'm an idea guy. You guys know me. I'm an idea guy. Through and through.
Big time.
Big time. Big time, prime time idea guy.
Idea guy is like, kind of a bad thing when someone calls you an idea guy, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's kind of a bad thing. It's like you're the guy who has the grand ideas, but you don't execute anything. Like, have you heard? You guys call him an idea guy all the time? Is that?
Dude, he marches around talking about how he's an idea guy.
Yeah, that's kind of.
Congrats, Keish.
It's kind of a bad thing, I think, to be an idea guy.
A lot of low reviews on Supervive this week.
Luckily, reviews aren't open till Wednesday.
Oh damn.
Yeah, not till the 20th. But yeah, I mean, I think that we'll see if we can get you in for the Freaky Week. But this one that created the glider that you're talking about, that mechanic, we put it in, and we've been doing playtests every single month for like 2 years straight now with players in a closed NDA. You can't stream it, you can't talk about it, but if you're invited in, you can play. And we've been doing it, and we made these, and internally, we were really split. Half the team was like, yo, these are awesome. Half the team was like, I hate this. It makes the game worse. I was on that half. I was like, it makes the game worse. We put it out in front of players. We said, you know what? Let's talk to players. Let's see what they think. We put it out, and players were like, we love this. It's so great. Mm-hmm. And then we had that one last piece, which was like, okay, players love it. But the reason I hated it, and other people hated it, originally it wasn't a one-shot kill over the abyss. You could glide around, and people could shoot you, and you just got shot. And what that did is it made the whole game got crazy. It was like, everyone's so fast. And I was talking to the designer who made it, and one night, like late in a Discord call, we're chatting, and I'm like, dude, you gotta get this feature out of the game, man. It really sucks. I really hate it. Please do something about it. And he's like, okay, but hear me out. What if it just dunked you into the abyss if you got hit? Just like Smash Bros, like you spike somebody. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. That sounds pretty good. And he put it in, and then instantly everyone's like, this is it. Like, holy shit. And it's rare, I think, in game development to have those kind of moments. Like, I think a lot of, the dramatization of it might be that, you're sitting there and someone goes, wait, I have the idea. And they run to their desk and do some quick coding or something. And like, boom, here's the $1 million idea or whatever. But it's really rare to have a moment where you just think, wow, like this is a fucking cool mechanic. This is really fun.
Oh, it was a good idea.
From an idea guy?
I didn't say it. You said it.
He also implemented it, though. So I don't know if he counts as an idea guy.
He's more than an idea guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I had a whole list of things I was going to talk about, but I'm not sure now.
I don't know. Maybe it's differently in the industry. Like maybe in the game industry, it's negative, but maybe in like film, television, everything else, it's positive. I don't know.
I would say it was positive.
Could be that.
Well, how are we on time? We're good on time, right?
You can go
for the commercial. Yeah. We're gonna continue talking with Kevin O'Brien. We'll be back right after this commercial break. And we are back. Another aspect of the game which I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm big into open world adventure games. That's my jam. This is not that. However, the level design was so beautiful and detailed that I kind of at times just found myself looking at things and I was like, oh, I want to go here just to see what this is. It's very explorative in the most positive sense. So kudos
yeah,
to
that's
the team.
great. We actually have too. I mean, since you played, we put in a ton of art updates to the game. I mean, I think one example that you might remember is you're running around and like the ground you're running on wasn't really finished. That was like a middle ground kind of step. Now it's complete, and so now all the ground you're running on is like new, updated, higher fidelity art. So there's even more, I think, getting added all the time, and we'll keep adding more as well.
Yeah,
because we don't really consider the game done. Like we're going to go to open beta on Steam. We're going to be in early access, but it's, there's still a lot more we can add.
Yeah. Well, I know you know this, but for our listeners, brand new listeners to the show, our producer here on the show, Peyton Grufik, he's a big time game guy. I would say you're a big time game guy.
I guess that's a fun way to phrase it. Define big time game guy.
Every time I call you, I'm like, hey, are you doing? You're like, no, I'm playing a video game or editing a video game or checking out a new video game or watching somebody play a video game.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
I don't know how much bigger of a video game guy you could
No,
get.
that's fair. Because when I'm not editing, I'm probably playing a game.
Yeah, that'd
And
be
then
a
I
big
just
time
turn
game
around.
guy.
I'm playing Overwatch, and then I turn around and edit Overwatch content.
Yeah, we
for
actually
people.
have like, when we talk about target audience, we have just a slide that says big time game guy, and we just like tap the slide like big time
of
game
it.
guy. We want the big time game
Our
guys.
target audience is
We
for
want the big time game
guys.
girls.
Yeah.
Big time game non-binaries. We want everybody.
Nice.
I think we should just call this episode "Big Time Game Guy" with Kevin O'Brien.
Big time game guy.
I'm a
Right,
big time
yeah.
game guy for sure.
You
yeah.
are a big time
for
game
sure.
guy.
Yeah. When I'm not playing video games, I'm making video games.
I got to be really careful saying that because it's kind of hard. It becomes a tongue twister after a little
Yeah.
bit.
Big time game guy.
Big
Yeah.
time game guy.
Yeah.
Big time game guy.
Yeah. That
hard.
is a bit of a tongue twister. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Peyton, we both tested it out at Kevin's place, which, by the way, thank you again for hosting that.
Yeah, for sure.
We were also on a headset with somebody in Colorado. He was some sort of vagrant or like
like some kind of drifter that kind of said he knew you and he wanted to play. So
and
I said sure. Yeah,
he
why not?
was very aggressive on the headset.
Yeah.
But either way, Peyton, what were some of your aspects that you found very entertaining with the game?
So normally, and I know I brought it up during the play test, this is not a game I would normally play. Just very like top-down MOBA style,
Yeah.
if that's what you are going for with
Yeah.
this game. Because like I played League of Legends a couple times, and I was just like, I'm not smart enough for this game. I don't have the patience for this
Yeah.
game. And it's like, that's fine. I enjoy very fast-paced kind of games. But this was very fast-paced.
Yeah, I think it's like the game appears to be a MOBA when you look at it because of the camera angle
Right.
and the character design, but it's really like a MOBA and a BR and a trench coat, and it's kind of mashed together. And I think the real secret as you play more is it's actually secretly a shooter, really.
Right.
In terms of the mechanics, because unlike most MOBAs, there's not a lot of like in MOBAs you can typically just like put your cursor over a guy and push a button and you do damage to them, or you just click on them and then you take your hands off the keyboard and your character will just do damage to them until they die. That's not true in our game at all. Everything you do pretty much has to be aimed with your mouse, similar to a shooter, but it's just in that top-down perspective. And so a lot of people, it's actually one of our biggest kind of marketing struggles is convincing people like, hey, no, come try this game. They're like, I don't like MOBAs. I'm like, well, it's not really a MOBA. Like it's more like a hero shooter top-down. It's not BR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always hated just like as a gamer because people have asked me about it, and it's like I hate bringing up League of Legends because
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not like League of Legends. It's
Yeah.
the same thing where Marvel Rivals is coming out.
Yeah.
And I edit for people of the Overwatch community. I play
Yeah.
Overwatch, and everybody's going like,
It sure looks
Marvel
like it's just Overwatch.
do what?
It looks like it's just Overwatch,
It's not just Overwatch.
but it's not.
And that's the same thing where it's like, I feel like your game's not just League of Legends.
Right.
Like there's so many fine details. And again, I'm not a League player,
Yeah.
so I can't really go into like the fine like comparisons of what separates your game from League of Legends. But I can just tell from the outside and by playing it and actually enjoying Supervive more than League of Legends.
Yeah.
Where in League of Legends, I die. You gotta go back. Everybody's got their lanes.
Yeah, it's
and
very-
you gotta like strategically figure things
It's
out.
very procedural.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
and
going
I'm
to court.
not bashing on that type of game.
Yeah.
I just don't have the patience for that
Yeah.
type of game, and I don't have the again, I don't think like I'm smart enough to do that. I'm not good with strategy like that. It's just like, let's get in a fight. Let's go. May the best one win.
Supervive is good for that.
Yeah.
Just get in there. And there's still strategy in Supervive for sure.
Of course.
But the nice thing is like you can kind of opt out of it almost.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you want to talk about like the sort of detailed like strategy of making games like this, but what you're speaking to, it's funny, like our producers, our like executive producers would love to hear, because we target different types of gamers when we're making games. At least our company is targeting. We don't just make a game that we think is fun. We think, okay, let's make a game that we think specific subsets of gamers will think is fun, that we think we as game developers are good at making and have good sort of taste making about what makes those games good. And so for us, we come from competitive, social, PvP games. So that's what we know how to make. And the types of gamers that like it are gamers like me who like League of Legends. So like, oh yeah, I want to be big smart guy and outsmart everybody and whatever, make the plays that way. Or players like you who are like, I just want to get in there and fight. I just want to frag. And those are literally our two core targets. So you've described yourself as that core target, and we're like, oh, great. It's hitting that mark for you.
No,
but then for me, I'm still sitting there thinking, no, there's still some strategy like what you were talking about, where, oh, there's this abyss and they're going to have to glide over this space and I'm going to position so that they have to come here. And it's not about just go frag in that context. So I think that's the goal.
Wesam knows nothing about strategy. So
Was it?
Andy's not good at combat either. So
He did describe strategy in terms of
yeah,
waiting
but he's
for the
an
gliders.
idea guy.
Oh,
So
yeah. He knows where to stand, but someone else should take the shot.
yeah.
I see.
Just kind
I
of.
don't know. I think I saw you spike some people. Actually, I was watching over your shoulder. You did spike some people into the abyss.
No. You're being too kind. I'm a rusher type of guy. I just want to go head on.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
You described strategy, but you just because that's what you think people want to hear.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I had
makes sense.
ChatGPT type out these notes.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
good. I got a resume from somebody that was straight up ChatGPT. It's great. Or a cover letter rather.
Wait, are you for real? How do
Yeah.
you know it was ChatGPT?
I have put up a job description which included, one of the lines included, you need to be like located in, because we're a fully remote studio, is like you need to be somewhere in this like time zone range. It said something like you have to be between Pacific and East Coast time zones so that you can work at the same time as the team. But I don't care if you're in New York or you're in Canada or you're in Mexico. It doesn't matter, right? I don't have to get you like a visa because we're fully remote. They sent a cover letter that addressed how they would, meet the criteria for every different thing I'd put in the listing, and it included, and I'm located in the United States between the Pacific and Eastern time zones, so I'm a good fit for the role, or something. I had a line like that, and I was like, who would write that? And my wife, Summer, is like, that sounds like ChatGPT. And I was like, wait, you're right. And so I took my exact job post and I copy pasted it into ChatGPT and said, write me a cover letter for this job. And it was almost the exact same cover letter. I was like, wow, this guy really didn't even. And the thing is, this is for a QA job, for quality assurance. And he didn't proofread the cover letter that ChatGPT sent him. And like when you're reading a resume, they say like, oh, don't ding people too much for typos. Yeah, I think that's true. But also for quality assurance, though, maybe you should ding him a little bit for typos. Maybe you should ding him a little bit for not proofreading the ChatGPT cover letter that they made. Because if he had taken that one line out, I probably would have thought, this guy's just kind of full of himself and like overly flowery, like ChatGPT's overly flowery language. I wouldn't have thought about it. But that line being in there, like no human would say I'm located within the U.S. and thus my time zone is effective or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
really weird.
I'm still upset that Peyton was so rude to me a little bit ago.
Right.
But that's really no. You should. I think you should ding him. Like ding him a lot. Like yeah. That's a main. That's a main aspect of the job that you need to be good at. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. I did not interview this person.
No. Okay. I want to jump into more of the acting side of this. Do you guys use voiceover actors for your stuff?
Yeah, we do. We have voiceover for the game's announcer, which is like a kind of pilot in a ship.
Yeah.
All of the characters in the game have voiceover, and we also have some limited voiceover for emotes in the game, which is like you can pop up a little emote that says like hi or whatever, and then we have like each character has emotes in their voice. So if you love to play, like you were playing Felix, the little fire fox guy, you can get an emote that says hi with his voice actor saying the line.
Oh, cool. And are you using union or non-union actors for
I
this?
think it's all union.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, and there's this like one tiny exception is we have like sound bites of people from playtest that we put into the emotes sometimes.
okay.
So it'll be like there's a line of me yelling like, "Do you think I'm boosted?" at one of my teammates, and that's one of the emotes you can get in the game.
Can we hear that one more like full
It's like,
on?
"Do you think I'm boosted?" It's like that kind of a little bit of voice crack in there and everything. It's just like that actually from an internal play. We grab those like from the community to like hype it up.
I'll tell you what. If you use
It's like I'm not a SAG actor, so technically that's non-SAG, but it's it's
love
kind of
it.
weird.
No,
It's
I
like the
love it.
game developer.
if you used Peyton as one of those, Peyton would be like this.
I peed myself.
Oh, that's good. And that's actually the perfect time. Yeah, you've moved your mic way too close to you for some reason. So you've been like spiking the entire time. I just thought as a podcast host, you'd like to know that and maybe learn how to use the microphones better. Thank you.
Okay. So
Damn.
second.
Wow.
Second. I'm gonna say second.
Okay.
We have new listeners to the show,
Yeah.
and they already don't like you.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
Sorry.
And first,
I thought that was my objective.
Are you the heel of this podcast?
I'm supposed to make him look really good.
Yeah. You're like the heel, like
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
pro wrestling terms. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's great.
I don't like you as the heel. It feels too mean, and
You never even moved your mic. You just kind of kept it
So
there.
where would you like
I
here?
want you to kind of scooch it back a
More?
little bit.
Really
Yeah.
more? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so. To be
See,
honest
Kevin
with you, this
sounds fantastic because I put it there.
okay. I'm
Not
not
an
gonna
idea,
get into this.
guys.
So
with
then it's
Peyton.
your fault, Peyton, though, because you didn't adjust the mic.
Oh, I thought he would know better.
No, I don't. This, by the way, this is our second time in this studio,
Okay, yeah.
this new studio.
It's nice. It looks really good.
Thank you,
like
you. So we're still trying to get used to it because we used different mics in the previous one. Also, we need new headphones because they sound terrible. My headphones on maybe it's just this headphone right here.
Maybe.
So
All right.
I'm gonna blame Adobe, I guess. Or,
Damn.
Yeah.
They're listening.
They are listening. No, they are listening. Okay. Now back to the voiceover thing. First of all, like kudos to you guys for using SAG-AFTRA or actors for the voices. Where is the gray line, or where's the line go when you just need a like a grunt or something like that? Do you still have to hire SAG actors, or is that something where AI comes into play?
So we're not using any AI at all. And I think when you talk about those grunts, we call them efforts or barks, depending on what they are. Those kind of grunts and other sounds. If it is the voice of a character in your game, then guess what? That voice actor is doing it. So they're in a studio for an hour, just going just trying a bunch of what sounds good, and like, maybe this character wouldn't really sound like that. Maybe like or whatever. That's all them. But I think if you're talking about, say, it's just like random soldier number 25, maybe you don't care about having that particular person. You don't need a specific voice actor to be random soldier number 25 versus like one of your kind of marquee characters. So for us, we're not using any AI, but I think that's where some game developers would probably like to use it. Is there's a lot of like time and effort that goes into putting voice acting into video games. It's not just like record the line. Okay, you're good to go. You got to record the line. You've got to kind of mix the line. You may have to do some editing on it if there's voice processing on the character's voice. Then you have to hook it up in the game. Then you have to test to make sure that it plays in the game. And if it's localized audio, you have to also do all of that in every language in the game that you're shipping the VO in, which can get pretty expensive. But also, to me, the biggest problem with that process is it's very time consuming because you have to okay, when can we book this person? When we can set them up? And you have this stuff that has to be done so far in advance of when it's actually going to be released. Whereas if I'm making a new design in the game, we're working on some stuff for the upcoming, we're already working on the next patch after the beta launch patch. And the design content can be made in days. But if we needed a voice acted line to go with that content, that needs, weeks of lead time. If you were to use AI for that, then you could do it really fast. The audio designer could put in a prompt and say, hey, I want a bunch of effort lines in the tone of this, whatever they've set up, and then just give me these effort lines. Or if you wanted to have a voice acted, I think I don't know if it's true, but I heard that the Finals, which is a shooter that came out recently, I heard they had an AI. They were using AI for their like a game announcer. That'd be really helpful for design, because it's like, okay, you hire somebody, they come in and you say, hey, we want to. I don't know how they did it, but let's say they did it the best way, which would be you hire somebody who agrees, like, hey, we're going to hire you to do a session, but we'll also agree, like, we're going to train an AI on your voice and use it so that way we can do quick tweaks if we need to. And if they're like, yeah, that's good, that would be nice. Because then you could say, hey, we have a new mode and we need the announcer to say these lines, instead of going back and, find this person, when are you available, let's voice the lines, like, let's just put in some quick stuff with the AI solution. I think that's what people probably want to use it for more. Versus, like you said, you're into like these kind of more adventure games like Assassin's Creed. Maybe you don't want to do that for like a mainline story character. Imagine like in the God of War series, if Kratos was voiced by AI, just wouldn't be good. It'd be tragedy, right? But for like those little grunts and stuff, it might make sense. Especially, I think the timing is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. So now you've worked at Riot Games beforehand, right?
Yeah.
And you've been playing video games since we've been in high school and beforehand.
Yeah.
So I feel like video games are a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anybody better to ask than you. What's the next big evolution for video games?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think that one thing we are seeing that's very interesting, and maybe this is like a negative evolution for video games, but the mobile market was really huge for gaming in the last decade. It's been huge. It's been a massive, massive market. But when TikTok came out, it started eating into the gaming market massively. And the reality of it is, like, why are you playing a mobile game on your phone? Well, you want something to do. You're sitting, you're kind of bored, whatever. You play a game. Well, TikTok came out and it was a better, like for a lot of people, it's just better immediate entertainment than many of the games on the market. So TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and all these things start eating into the gaming market. And I don't know if you're familiar, but like I think Netflix is famously quoted as saying that their biggest enemy is sleep, in terms of like their biggest competitor is sleep, because people can't keep watching their shows because they need to sleep. I think the gaming market is almost similar, in that we're all sort of fighting for a share of the same pie, which is the attention and time of human beings. And so for gaming, it depends on the type of game, right? Like I think a lot of the games you're talking about, and even Peyton, you were talking about playing, are games that are, people work on them for many years. You market them, people buy them. Maybe there's some sales, you buy them a few more times and they're over and they're done and that's it. Those kind of games, I don't know that they're really changing that much or going anywhere. I think their budgets are probably going to have to go down. That's going to have to change, because many of these games have $100 million budgets. Like I think Alan Wake 2 is a game known for having this huge budget. I think they recouped their costs. They did really, really well, but it was very questionable to have that large of a budget. And I think the film industry, I've heard, is doing the same thing. I remember saw some viral clip on a Hot Ones episode where, who was it? Matt Damon was talking about how like smaller films, the budget has to get smaller because they're not going to be able to recoup their costs. I think it's the same for those, what we call like boxed products, where you're just going to go sell it. Games like the one I'm working on, like Supervive or League of Legends or Valorant, on the other hand, it's more like almost a venture capital beat. You're putting a bunch of money into the game, a bunch of money into marketing, and you're trying to develop a game that's going to stand sort of the test of time. It's going to last years, and people are going to continue to play it all the time and kind of slowly drip feed money into it, as opposed to games that are going to come out like God of War and you're just going to like buy it and then you're done.
You bring up some really an interesting point here with this. I just read an article on Deadline talking about The Rock's latest Santa Claus movie that's coming
There's
out.
ads everywhere in LA for that.
You know what I'm talking about? Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
And part of the article says, I don't think it's lost money, but it's not like, okay, all right, it's a profit, but man, that's a huge budget. Do we really want to keep doing this? And it seems like he's really stuck with every single project he's done or going to do. Man, you've got a massive budget, so you better make it a big blockbuster. Otherwise, it's a huge loss, and it's a huge risk at the same time.
Yeah.
And to go along that same branch, there's this YouTube channel that I've been watching videos on, and it shows every major like film actor's projects with how much money it costs and whether it was a profit or a big hit.
Oh yeah.
And Tom Cruise, I think he's only, if I'm not mistaken, maybe one early on in his career. If I might be mistaken, they might have all been hits.
Yeah.
Which is super rare.
Yeah.
But for The Rock, that's not consistent. And then going now paralleling that to the video game world, I think that just makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there's just, first of all, there's too much out there. I think that's probably one of the other issues. It's just saturated. The market is saturated with not just other video games, but also, like you're saying, TikTok, Netflix. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
So much to listen to.
The limiter is how much money do people have to spend and how much time they have to engage in this stuff. Like a good example is I think there's an incredible volume of great television that's come out thanks to all these different streaming platforms showing up. And I don't think most people have time to watch all of it. You know, which ones are you going to watch? Are you going to watch the new Game of Thrones? Are you going to watch whatever new special comes out? And I think the other piece that like sticks out to me is when you're trying to build this stuff, game development is very time consuming. It takes years to make a video game. You can't make a video game quickly, really, unless it's very, very small. And it's getting more expensive because wages are going up for game developers. I mean, I think, I can't remember when, but a law passed that required that for job postings in California, you have to list the salary range a few years ago. And I looked and I remember seeing that at the time I worked at Riot, Blizzard was paying their QA people at the level that I was looking at, like kind of like half of what Riot was paying them as a starting pay. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. But part of it's because Blizzard's been around for a long time. So they probably haven't grown they haven't like reassessed or grown their pay in a while. But when I looked at those numbers, I was like, man, that's wild. And if you think about that growth in like just a decade, how much more game developers make than they used to, because games have become more profitable naturally. All the employees are like, yo, we should also get paid more. Now you come to the problem where, suddenly it's pretty expensive to make these games.
Yeah.
And I think the technology has advanced a lot, like Unreal Engine, which is a very commonly used engine in the industry, is used by a lot of people. It is great for a lot of things, but it's still, it's very time consuming to make games. So it's almost like you have to put in that huge amount of early investment. And I think unlike, I don't know if this is true for film, you could tell me, but my perception is that for film and for movies, you can kind of get that core idea into a strong place with a small group of people before you need to put on like the full investment in production. You can get together a script, you can maybe do some table reads or something like that, before you have to hire like whatever the big budget talent and you have to bring in the whole production team and all that. But in games, you need kind of like a minimum 10 to 15 people to really get that going if you're doing anything that's not like the sort of like solo auteur indie game type project.
Yeah. That's really true. Really good points there. I got to say, if people want to, are curious to like delve into the world of like, I really want to find a certain lane in game creation or development. Sorry, that was just out of habit. Of creating a game or being part of like, I have an idea for a video game. What do you think the best advice to give to somebody is for that?
Someone wants to make a video game?
Yeah. And they're not sure what job exactly they want to have in that.
Yeah. I think, I would say do a little research. It depends, where you're at in your life, but there's a lot of different jobs in video game development, like tons of different things you can do. If you just want to try your hand at making a video game, go download Unity or download Unreal Engine. They're both free. You can just download them and use them. You can even download them and release a game on them, I believe for free or mostly free, as long as you don't make too much money. So like, the best thing you can do is just do that. Like on Unreal Engine, you can download that and start making a game immediately. Like they have like default game templates. Like there's one like called Shooter Game you can use if you wanted to make a shooter. Valorant was built on Shooter Game as a base template to start, for example. But if you're looking to like pick a lane and build towards it, I would definitely do some research about the different jobs that are out there. You could be like me, you could get into quality assurance, you could get into software engineering, you can get into design, you can get into art. There's like all of these groups or disciplines have tons of like categories inside of them, like art. There's like, are you a VFX artist? Are you an audio engineer? Are you doing like Foley capture? Like our audio engineer does Foley capture. Like we have a bow character, and we put out a TikTok of him going to the archery range and taking shots to like record the audio. There's so many different things in the industry you can do, and the thing that really sucks about the game industry, and I think it's actually similar in film and television, is if someone asks you like, oh, how do I get into it? I don't know. It's like, is there a like educational program you can go to that'll get you into it? You could do a game development like degree at a university. Those are offered in the same way that you could do an acting degree. Does that mean you're going to become an actor? Like, no. Does it mean you're going to become a game developer? Nope. So I think what I usually encourage people, if you're young, if you're like a teenager and you're thinking, well, I want to make games one day, how am I going to do it? I'm like, the best way to guarantee it probably is to do software engineering, because that tends to be the highest demand. Or the very rare specific cases, you could do VFX, which is typically in high demand. I'm not sure why that is the case. Maybe because it's really hard, but VFX has like always been one of the things I've seen in every project is strapped for resources.
Yeah. Real quick, before we shift gears, if people want to check out Supervive, completely open beta is up now.
Yeah, I mean, at the time this goes live, it should be up. We're on Steam. Come check it out. Just look for Supervive on Steam. If you don't want to play the game right now, at least go there and wishlist it. Just boost our stats, please. But it's free, so you can just download it and try it out. No real obligation at all. It's only on PC right now. So sorry to the console and mobile folks out there, but
will you have a port for Game Boy?
We're considering Game Boy Advanced, but not Game Boy.
Not Game Boy.
See. Yeah, sorry. Unreal Engine doesn't support Game Boy, but
Can I chime in with a quick question real quick before we wrap up Supervive?
Absolutely not.
Damn it.
So,
Shit.
wow. He runs a tight ship.
I know. And just before we go to the break, so I'll speed run through.
Yeah.
But we were talking about, I want to circle back to, we were talking about just media, video games in general. It's become very saturated.
Mm-hmm.
Free to play.
Yeah.
Has also become very saturated.
Totally.
And I feel like it's a blessing and curse for games, and I imagine game developers as well, because there are so many pros and cons to that. If you cannot talk about it, that is okay. But is there anything you can share about how you plan to keep player retention in a market so saturated as free-to-play games?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the quick answer and then the long answer. The quick answer is the game is fun.
Yeah.
That is the number one mechanism to drive player retention. A lot of studios will spend a lot of time looking at like, oh, how do you keep players playing the game? Because just for the audience, in case you're not aware, for a free-to-play game, the number one way that you make money is that people play your game, and then they'll buy free content that they have no obligation to buy. It's not necessary to play the game. They buy it because they like the game. And the industry understanding and data is that the more hours people play your game, the more money they will spend. And it's a direct line correlation. And so realistically, it's like, you just got to keep people playing. And it doesn't matter if they don't spend very much, or, you know, a huge percentage of your audience even will never spend any money on a free-to-play game. So retention is really important in the industry. The number one way to do it is just that the game is fun. A lot of people might go, oh, you can do things. You can do a lot of really tricky things. Mobile games are really famous for this. They do tons of little things like, oh, hey, come back, the little notification. Oh, hey, your juice bar is filled up. Come drink your juice. And you push the button and come drink the juice every day. We have a little bit of that kind of stuff in our game, but it's really trivial. For the PC market in particular, it's very cutthroat. Like, your game just needs to be better than the other games. It needs to be more fun, more engaging, more fun to play with your friends, whatever it is. It's pretty simple. As opposed to like a huge mobile game, for example, Monopoly Go, a PC gamer would probably not be out playing Monopoly Go every day, but that is one of the most successful mobile games that's released in the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
I assume to keep the game fresh, though, and like you don't have to talk about it again because the game's not out yet. But are you going the route of like adding more characters every X amount of months, adding maps X amount of months, just to keep spicing it up? Because you're right, the gameplay loop is extremely fun. For a game I look at the surface and go like, I wouldn't play that. I had a really good time. Mm-hmm. But what's to say in 5 months I start to go like, I need that little kick, something new.
No, that's a really good point, and I think it's really core to this type of games that we in the industry we call them game as a service, as opposed to just like box product games like Assassin's Creed or God of War. you need updates. You need to keep putting updates to keep the game interesting. You add new content, new characters, new powers, equipment, items, whatever you want to add to make the game interesting, as well as fixing errors in the game, balancing the characters to keep it fun. Something we say a lot at the studio is we're trying to create 1,000-hour games. It's just kind of shorthand for, hey, we want to make a game that you'll play for thousands of hours. It's a great time. You enjoy it. My sort of belief, which is not the studio's belief necessarily, is that there are no true 1,000-hour games. Most games are at best like a 300-hour game. If you're just like really, really good, it's like a 300-hour game. And then if you consistently release updates, new content, new stuff, it can scale into 1,000 hours because you never hit the 300 hours. You get close to 300 hours, then the game changes again, and then it changes again, and it keeps kind of bouncing back. I think that's my kind of personal perspective, but I don't really have any data to back that up.
Yeah, but Supervive will be taking that route.
For sure.
I assume.
Yeah.
Then that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Should we go for a commercial break right now?
I think so.
I think,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll be right back. And we're back from the commercial break. That's fun.
You did
That
great.
was such a good break.
It
You
was
didn't
such a
stutter.
I didn't
I'm
stutter.
so proud of you.
Thank you. I get nervous
Do you
before we
normally
go.
stutter on the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Just on the commercial break parts. I get
Mhm.
nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's scary. You never know what the commercial's going to be.
exactly.
It shows up.
Could be anything. Anything. Alex,
Yeah.
do we have current events?
We do. To stay slightly on brand before we go straight into the full acting industry, Elden Ring DLC is going to be eligible for Game Awards.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, so they have changed the eligibility rules for nominations and confirmed that DLCs, expansion packs, remakes, and remasters are now eligible in all categories, provided that they demonstrate new creative and technical work deemed worthy by a jury.
wow. Both of you I felt the energy shift from both of you. And so I'd love to hear from Kevin first. What do you think about that?
I mean, Elden Ring, when it came out, was just an absolute titan of a game. It was like... It won an award before anything about it had come out as the most anticipated game. They'd done a trailer, and they're like, "Oh, George R. R. Martin is doing the creative, and it's a studio behind the really, really beloved Dark Souls franchise." And so it's like, "Oh, this is like Dark Souls, but it's new and with George R. R. Martin." And it was before the last season of Game of Thrones aired, so people still were loving George R. R. Martin. Although I guess he didn't take too much flack for the end of that show, but the DLC came out this year, and it was really popular. I heard it was really good. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. I really want to play it. I've just been cranking on Supervive, really. It's kind of interesting because it is nice. Something that I've felt as someone who makes games as a service games. The Game Awards is great. I watch it every year. I think it's a wonderful event. But it's kind of like it's all about boxed products, really. And Jeff Keighley, the guy who runs it, he's kind of a real film industry guy almost, despite being game industry. That's why he loves having I forget his name, Hideo Kojima on his stuff, because Hideo Kojima is also a real film buff kind of guy, and he likes to make his games like art, And so a lot of what is on there is boxed product releases. And a lot of the games that are getting awards, it's best game of this, best game of that. And meanwhile, a gigantic, probably majority percentage of gaming hours and time that gamers are putting into playing video games is not on any of these games. It's on games like League of Legends and Valorant and Fortnite and Apex Legends that are or Call of Duty, just dwarfing the gaming industry in terms of how much time players put into spending them. But they never get any awards, you're never going to give an award to League of Legends. Why would you do that? Even though it's this massively popular and successful game. The only one I think the live ongoing games really get is they'll get awards for esports most of all. I remember they made a best ongoing game award. And I think they had Valorant and Fortnite and Apex. And Fortnite, I worked on Valorant. I didn't work on Fortnite. But Fortnite should have won the year that they were on. But I think No Man's Sky won, which is no flame to No Man's Sky. It's a good game.
Which one is that one?
It's this game you go explore in space, and it's procedural. There's a million planets.
Yeah.
It's a great game. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, dude, Fortnite it's incredible what those guys are doing over there. I mean, they're hosting concerts in game. They get every content creator. They've got Marvel. They've got you can be Naruto with a machine gun, and you can gun down Goku and then get a lightsaber and cut down Darth Vader. It's crazy the amount of cool stuff they've been able to pipe into that game, to not have them win best ongoing to me is like crazy.
Yeah.
And so Elden Ring DLC coming in, it's like, oh, it's another chance to sort of narrow gamers' understanding of what's going on and what's cool. Because I think what some people might want out of the Game Awards is, hey, I want my favorite game to win an award. And what other people might want is, hey, I want my favorite game that is lesser known to get recognized. And if the Elden Ring DLC is in there, it's probably gonna win something. And that means some new other game probably is gonna get snubbed, which is a bummer.
That's really interesting. I have a comment after Peyton about just the Elden Ring DLC, not with the award thing, but yeah.
This feels like an excuse to give Elden Ring another award.
Yeah, why not?
Not saying it doesn't deserve one.
It's a great game.
But
incredible game.
You know,
So good.
Award shows are rigged all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a popularity contest. It's what'll make a good headline a lot of the times. I'm not saying a majority of the games don't deserve the awards they do get, but like you brought it up with No Man's Sky. I think No Man's Sky got an award because of how good they recovered from the catastrophe that was No Man's Sky.
That's
and
true.
it's, look how far No Man's Sky has come.
Yeah. Sure.
We should give them an award for that because they've done such a good job with all of their updates and recovering the games. It's a really good story.
Yeah.
When you're right, something like Fortnite, who is like sandbox the game.
Well, in Fortnite, not only that, it's like a national cultural phenomenon in the US at least. I mean, it's popular in the US, it's popular in Europe, it's popular in a lot of places, but especially in the US in a way that a lot of these other games aren't. Like League of Legends is popular in the US, but it's more popular in Asia. But Fortnite is huge here, and you'd think, like, damn, these guys deserve it. I mean, that game, it came out huge, and they had that same story too. Originally, Fortnite was a sort of like player versus AI game where you built a base and hordes of enemies attacked you. They released that game. It wasn't doing anything, and they were like, damn, this PUBG thing is pretty good. What if we just made PUBG out of the skeleton of what we have? They made that. I would love to see a documentary on that. I mean, they switched the whole game and made that. It's amazing. And then just blew up, continue to release amazing updates, on and on and on. I think they're almost genre defining in what they're doing. And yet, yeah, No Man's Sky wins because, I don't know, people don't like PvP games. But people love PvP games.
I know.
That's where everybody
Maybe
plays.
that's the easy answer on the surface. It's like, oh yeah, Fortnite. Like everyone's expecting Fortnite.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky.
Ooh, headlines.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, that was a bummer to me. I feel like Fortnite or Valorant. I mean,
What year
I'm
was
biased.
that?
I don't remember, but I remember Fortnite. It was like Fortnite, Valorant. I want to say it was Fortnite, Valorant, and No Man's Sky were in there, and I was like, well, obviously not No Man's Sky. I mean, come on, it's Fortnite, bro. Like, I would love it to be Valorant, but it's gonna be Fortnite. I can't remember exactly. It was something along those lines. Riot's games are always on the list, and like, you know, I worked at Riot for years, and we basically only win esports stuff, which is always a bummer because I'm like, yeah, Riot's esports is like top class, but
Yeah.
come on, best ongoing game. The players speak volumes in terms of like how many people are playing them every day. But yeah,
Well, one of my favorite like memes, or not memes, but somebody talked about on the internet. Can you imagine not knowing there was a Elden Ring DLC, and you've just defeated like 4 or 5 of the hardest bosses you've ever fought in your life?
Yeah.
And then you touch like the hand that brings you into this other world,
Mhm.
and you're like, holy shit, there's a whole other map.
yeah,
What?
yeah.
What?
And I heard they aggressively scaled it, so even if you were like power leveled, you'd still kind of get like rolled.
Yeah, that's one of the aspects of it I just love about Elden Ring, where you could be maxed out character but still get one
Still get
shot
just
at
one
yeah.
shot. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, it's such a good game. I wish I had infinite time because I would love to play through. Like, I finished to play my first playthrough of the original game, and then I was like, all right, I want to redo it. I want to do the I don't remember her name, but like the magic Tower Ladies quest line, and all the quest lines in that game. It's like kind of cool, but also kind of dumb because you just have to Google it basically. Of like, what am I doing?
Thank you for saying that.
It's what people love about Elden Ring. But no one, it's like, I love that it's not just like pointing an objective marker at me everywhere I go. And I'm like, that is nice, but did you do the quest without Googling it?
See,
Probably
that's the one flaw about the game that I have. It's actually the biggest flaw.
Yeah.
It's not clear.
It's not clear enough. Yeah.
No.
You could have no objective marker, but at least make it clear in some way. And then I could do it.
Bro,
Yeah.
some of the side quests, I'm like, how the fuck, without the internet, Are you supposed to know this?
There's no way.
No way.
I'll give you an example, by the way. This is a really old example, but if you're familiar with Elder Scrolls games like Oblivion and Skyrim, they're really popular. Morrowind, which is the third entry in the series, came out many years ago, and it preceded this sort of like HUD with a little marker that tells you exactly where to go. In Morrowind, you had a journal. And so when someone said to you, hey, can you go over to the Ascar Mountains and get me some mushrooms or whatever, your character would like not like physically write, but you'd have a journal you could open up that have an entry that said, Jeff wants me to go to the Ascar Mountains and get some mushrooms. And you're like, okay. So you could like tab through the journal to find those quests. And it was hard and not easy to figure out, but I did not need the internet to play that game. Like there was even a piece that's like, oh, you have to go here at when the sun sets or something. I was like, cool, I got to go here and change my game time to night. It was like clear enough for me to figure out without objective markers. And I think that's what people want from Elden Ring. And clearly what the players would rather have is nothing over the tell you everything HUD and then have to Google it. But I think the middle ground is like, you can give me nothing and let me figure it out. I think Assassin's Creed Odyssey did this really well, actually. They have an option you could select in Odyssey, which is like, hey, you can turn off the option. By default, it was on, which is like things are a little more cryptic and it's not exactly specific. It's like go to Athens or something to meet this person. And if you flip the setting, it's like, okay, go right here. He's right there. And you could change it. So they actually had a setting for that, which I thought was pretty cool. Because that's also nice for accessibility. If you can't figure it out or you don't want to deal with it, you're just like, tell me where Plato is. I want to go see Plato. You just check the box.
Well, I have an issue whenever you miss something. Mm-hmm. And it's been, there's no way you would have never like figured it out without the internet. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you can't do that quest line anymore.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Like,
in Elden Ring, it's all over the place.
I have to beat the game first now just to get this one item, which I wanted to kind of have as a weapon or an armor set. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Man,
I always tell
hard.
people that they're like, oh, I want to try a Dark Souls game. I'm like, you should use a guide. Like, just use a guide. It's more fun with a guide.
Yeah.
I tried playing the original Dark Souls the first time, and I'm quite the gamer. And I was playing it, and I got to the Capra Demon boss, which is like one of the first really hard bosses you might encounter. And I just couldn't beat this boss, and I was really struggling. And then I went and looked at a guide, and I was like, oh, it's because my build is like horrible. I'm so badly optimized. And so I went back and restarted the game and followed a guide, which had me go under a bridge and shoot a dragon's tail with like 100 arrows to get the tail to fall off to get me a weapon that I could use. How was I going to know how to do that without a guide? And then suddenly I go to the Capra Demon and I'm like, oh, this wasn't a skill issue. My build was so bad that I had to like play perfectly for 10 minutes versus play pretty well for 3 minutes,
Well, so it's like a trial and error. Like, if you have the time, then you can be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to actually try this build and see if I get anywhere different with it. But for like me, I don't have that time.
Right.
So I'm like, need to jump on YouTube.
Yeah. And plus, the thing that's cool about their games too is like, and players are prudent. You can look it up. People are like, oh, I beat Elden Ring on a DDR pad with 0 souls spent or whatever, like level 1 with a stick. Yeah. You're like, okay, yeah, all right, fine. If you have a lot of time and you're very skilled, like, sure. But like, come on, man. Sometimes I want to feel a little bit powerful.
That person doesn't pay taxes, has way too much time.
Yeah, maybe not.
No, way too much time on their hand.
We should actually piece that with Adobe, but we do have more card time, so we can keep going for a little bit.
Okay. Let's. I mean, do we have one more current event? Maybe. Yeah, we'll make it a quick one. Hey, thank you, Adobe listeners, for tuning in live. Again, check out Supervive on Steam. It should be available and it's free. Check it out. It's made by a great team of people, and it's a great game. Sincerely. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Alex, you just want to wrap it up real quick?
Yeah, this one is from the film and TV, but I'm assuming there's a lot of this going on in the game industry. Yellow Jackets, the show, is facing copyright lawsuit.
Ooh.
So the hit TV series has a soccer team stranded in the wilderness, resorting to cannibalism. Spoiler alert. And there was a film in 2015 called Eden that had the same concept, and so they are suing for copyright.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I'm curious to see how far that goes, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think they'll get that far.
Sounds pretty weak.
Yeah. However, the new ER spinoff, did you hear about that?
Mm-mm.
Have you heard about this?
Mm-mm.
The creator, I believe, of ER passed away, so his estate was suing because it specifically said if you were to do any type of spin-off or continuation of the show, you need our consent and written approval. Warner Brothers, I think it's Warner Brothers. Let's double check me on that. But they went to, they started writing the script with one of the Noah Wiley, I believe, is the actor. They got the pilot, everything, and then they stayed. It was like, whoa, hey guys, you guys, what's going on? We specifically have this stuff, and they're like, oh no, you're right. Let's meet. We'll redo the terms and everything. They're like, okay, cool, because they need their approval. And then they didn't do that, and they continued. So they sued them, and so they just changed now the place and the names of the characters, and
Just copy my homework, but change it a little. So it doesn't look
yeah,
like
I mean,
cheating.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they're gonna do it just enough to get away with it. But it's like, wow, you guys thought you wouldn't get away? You could
People
get away
notice.
with it? Like, okay, I don't know. There's a really gray area to all that.
It's interesting, and it's funny. This kind of stuff sits right in the middle of my background because I was an attorney before I started working in video games, and I'm no expert in copyright law or anything like that, but I have some passing understanding, and I think in games it's really interesting because all games are essentially copying each other and like kind of riffing off of what the last game's idea was. Like a really common thing for gamers is they'll be playing Overwatch, and they'll go play Marvel Rivals, and they'll go, oh, this character is basically Symmetra, but with, pigeons instead of like drones or whatever. And like, oh, this character, it's basically Genji, but instead of a sword, it's like a stick. And instead of this, it's that. And you're like, okay, so you're saying it's different. You're saying it's not the same thing, right? But that's like a really common thing. Like in our game too, people are like, the character Felix you were playing, they're like, oh, this is like Rumble mixed together with Twitch. And I'm like, okay, Rumble is a little like dude in a mech, and he has an ult that looks like Felix's ult. And then Twitch is a little rat guy that shoots a gun, which this Firefox character is kind of ratty looking, but he has a flamethrower. It's like not really that, but that's what players say. And I'm like, all right.
I was guilty. There's a character, I forgot their name, but I was like, oh, I can kind of be Reinhardt.
Oh
This
yeah,
guy.
Oath.
I can.
Oath. It's like, oh, he has a shield, so he's Reinhardt, right? And it's
he
like
can swing, and I was like, there
sure.
we go.
Yeah, exactly.
I know
And
this.
It's really common, and I think it's interesting in video games in particular because I don't know how it seems almost impossible to defend a copyright in the video game context for the most part because unless they're directly ripping your IP, the idea of like, oh, characters drop into a map and unique hero characters drop into a map and fight to survive in a battle royale format. If someone made an exact copy of Supervive just like that, and you can glide and you can use the little wind rings to boost yourself around, you can be spiked. Like, yeah, I mean, you know how much original work has to go into recreating that even? It's hard to say that's not an original work, even if it's extremely derivative. There was actually a case where Riot Games, where I used to work, I don't know if Riot directly sued them, but there was a lawsuit where a game was really copying Valorant. I mean, really, really copying Valorant. And they got that game shut down. But I don't think it was because they were going to win the lawsuit. I think it was more of sort of a PR situation for the studio that was doing the copy and the relations. But it was like, I can't remember if it was a Korean or a Chinese studio, I don't remember now, that was doing this clone, that they were like, oh, okay, we're not going to do it. But it was not, I don't think that they would have won that case like in court, even though it was, if you went and looked at it, it was basically the same game. Like this character, same abilities, one different ability. This character, same abilities, one different ability. Same UI, same damage numbers, same like map shape, everything. Seems incredibly hard though in general to defend copyright in the game space.
Maybe
That's another reason not to use AI also.
Yeah.
Because if you use AI to make something, you can't really prove that it was yours. If you do make it off of your own thing, you can, but...
Or you just tell AI, hey, can you make it seem like I've done the pre-work for this so that you don't get involved?
It can't, because you can't prove it. You can't prove you did the pre-work. But if you have concepts, if you have earlier iterations, you have all this, because we use source control. We have all this history we can prove.
No, Kevin, you just tell it. You just tell the AI to do all that stuff.
I don't think you really could do that in a way that it would work.
You can prompt it, man. Trust me. Trust me, man. You won't get sued.
He's an idea guy.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting idea. I'd love to see it implemented at a game studio and see how that goes.
Bro, it's a big idea.
He'll bring it up at Freaky Friday. Or
during Freaky Week.
Freaky Week.
Everybody's switching bodies.
Yeah. I'll come host the podcast and you come do quality assurance for the game. We'll switch it out.
Oh, you don't. Yeah, that would
be great.
Yeah, we'll just end it there. Thanks again for coming on the show. People want to follow you on Instagram or Twitter. Or Twitch?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Koalafire, as in a koala, a qualified koala. It's a little quality assurance pun. Love that. I'm a dad now, so I can make as many puns
That's
as I
fair.
want. I'm
Yeah.
allowed. Yeah.
What else? Is that a qualifier?
Yeah,
all
I
across
qualify on
board?
Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky. That's popping
What's
off lately.
that?
You haven't heard of Blue
Oh
Sky?
my god.
They're adding 1 million users a day right now.
Yeah.
You got to get on Blue Sky.
Get on Blue Sky.
Okay.
Wait, what is it?
I don't know.
It's Twitter again, but
It's
different.
Twitter. But it's actually being successful. this time.
Well, I don't know if it's successful yet. We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Interesting.
But it's on track to be doing okay.
New
I can't
Twitter.
have another social media account. I can't.
That's what I said. And then the bots really are starting to get me on Twitter, man. It's a bit much.
All right. Again, for those of you watching, check out Supervive on Steam. It's free. It's amazing. It's made by great people. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
Peyton, play us out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed it, and be sure to check out Supervive again on Steam. Very fun game. Bring your friends. It should be a good time. Other than that, always remember to listen, think, and then talk. Bye.